Who wants to be a millionaire? Wow, can you believe this? This is how desperate they are. Now, for people that don't understand the way this works, they've got all these VCs sitting on the shelves, right? And the more hype and hysteria that they can create to get people to get the VC, they're making money hand over fist, like billions. This is published data. They admit to the billions that they're making. It's probably far more than that. But what they're admitting to is, I think, 10 to 20 billion are the numbers. So for them to get a bunch of people to get this and give away 5 million is nothing for these people. This is unprecedented. Why don't they do this with the floozy season? They're not giving out millions of dollars to take it. You guys, we're at a 99.7% survival rate. And this is what they're pressuring people to do. Something else is going on here. So this is Ohio. And thanks for making it to this backup show here that I pre-recorded this morning. It should be premiering after the main show, the decode that we're doing. And so this is what's going on. Let's get into this article. May 12th, 2021. Ohio will give 5 people $1 million each in CV19 VC lottery. Now we're going to cover some other headlines today too. Every once in a while I'll do these catch-up shows because the headlines are hitting us fast and furious here. And it's good to stay ahead of the curve so that you guys are informed about what's going on. And this is the kind of information you can share with family and friends so they can understand that there is something else happening here. It says here, 5 VC Ohioans will win $1 million each through a new lottery announced Wednesday, one of the largest financial incentives announced by a state to combat declining demand for the VC. Starting May 26, the state will award $1 million each week. Wow, each week to an adult who has received at least the first dose. Governor Mike DeWine said, now we just talked about the exodus yesterday, getting out of Egypt. And it appears as though Ohio is well within the boundaries of Egypt with moves and stunts like this. There will be 5 total drawings. I know that some may say you're crazy. This $1 million drawing idea of yours is a waste of money. Now you got to ask yourself, is there some kind of incentive that the governors are getting to push this? I would like to see the financials on this. Why are they working so hard? And why are the governors allowing this to happen as well? It says the governor said during an address Wednesday, but truly the real waste at this point is in the spam-demic, when the VC is readily available to anyone who wants it, is a life lost. What about the lives lost during floozy season? 60, 100,000 people, or some estimates, every single season. When did they care about that? When will the government get off our backs and let us take personal responsibility for our health instead of being forced? It says the state will draw names from the Ohio Secretary of State's publicly available voter registration database. Oh, so you got to also be in the voter registration database. So if you don't believe that voting helps, sorry, you're not part of the lottery. You can also sign up through an online portal. Winners must be Ohio residents, at least 18 years old on the day of the drawing, be VC'd before the drawing. They will be conducted by the Ohio Lottery with money coming from existing federal CV19 relief funds. Well, there's the ticket right there. This is the lottery ticket. The federal relief funds. So I'm sure that there's some indicator in those funds or some kind of measure or metric. The more people that get VC'd, maybe the more funds they get. I don't know that, but my guess is that that's the case. It says the state will also hold a weekly lottery starting May 26th for those 17 and younger. Wow, they're going after the children too. A child could win the lottery. 5 winners will receive a full 4-year scholarship to State of Ohio University, which includes tuition, room and board, and books, DeWine announced. Now, this should be a punch in the stomach to those of you who have gone through their system, who are still carrying school loans, did everything right. You've been paying faithfully on your school loans for 5 or 10 years, still haven't paid them off. And now, guess what? If you get the sticker, then you can have all of your school loans paid off. Go to school for free. This is just, I don't know. This just really bothers me. Students can sign up online portal starting May 18th. Children as young as 12 are now able to get VC'd. So, it says 4.8 million people ages 18 and up have gotten at least one dose, according to the Centers of the Disease Control and Prevention. Nationwide, 58% of those age 18 and up have gotten it. So, Ohio feels like they're behind, so they got to catch up, right? What else do we have in the headlines here? Well, more clotting cases. And finally, they're admitting to a causal link. Now, why wouldn't they admit to this link before when everyone else was saying it? Oh, we didn't have the data available yet. It's probably what they're saying. Janus and Jambres, the two magicians in the Pharaoh's court, battling Aaron and Moses for control over who the real physicians are. The Most High, or Pharmakia, the Caduceus, staffs turning into serpents. This article says U.S. we can't even say the name, found more cases of potentially life-threatening clotting among people who received Janus and Jambres VC. And now, all of a sudden, they see a plausible causal association. Now, had some of the people listened to the red flags that we were waving before this even came to market back in August of 2020, maybe they wouldn't have gotten it. But now, all of a sudden, there's a plausible causal association. Now, understand, they're only admitting to 28 cases. But understand, when you go to their own database, that many, many, many more people are reporting something going on. But they won't allow it to be a quote-unquote case until it passes their litmus test to be named a case. Do you see what I'm saying here? So they make it look here like only 28 and 8.7 million have experienced this. But just know that there are many, 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 many more people reporting things that are associated with this. But it's not allowed to be called that because it's in the database. So far, 3 of the 28 have died. So here's the update on what's going on with that. India is dropping out too, reports new deaths due to CV black fungus. Now they're saying this is linked to CV19. The outbreak spreads to more cities. Here's what's going on in India. Now this is interesting because we identified this black fungus in a particular show that we were watching that we just did a decode on before this show called Helix. And in season 2 of Helix, a fungus becomes the pathogen. Isn't that weird? It says an increasing number of black fungus cases are being reported across India, with deaths being reported in multiple states as a deadly CV sweeps the country. 10 deaths, 8 in that particular province due to the fungal infection. Doctors say there could be more tied to the infection. Mucormycosis. Wow. This is exactly the term that they use, this mycosis, which means a fungal infection, in the Helix series season 2. A rare but dangerous fungal infection. And let's see if we can pull up some images of this. Helix season 2 fungus. It's like coming out of people's mouths. See, they call it mycotics. It's right here. I'm not making any of this up. This was back in 2015, you guys. Let's look at some images here. So, this fungal infection happens and these people are cruising around with these fungal growths coming out of their lungs. Doesn't look like they're going to show us any pictures here. But it is definitely a mycosis. Now, probably don't want to see the pictures anyway because it's pretty disgusting. So that's what's going on in India. Life happening in reality from the entertainment realm. And we know it's all because they plan all this stuff. And now they're coming after the children. We told you this in the beginning. that they were going to come for children eventually, and now here it's happened. It's been approved. Even though they tell us that children are basically unaffected by this to a large degree. We even heard it in Bo Biden's own words. He was telling a child that was afraid in an interview at a press conference. He said, "You don't have to worry." Now, all of a sudden, they're being forced to get this. Now, many of you that follow this channel also follow Ben Swan. And he just uploaded a video talking about passports. And he brought up a very good point that we had touched on in the past, that they have redefined the term turd immunity. They've redefined it. How? Well, it used to be that turd immunity meant that you were either exposed or you had a vaccine. Well, now they redefined it as only if you've had a vaccine have you reached herd immunity. The reason why they've done this is because they don't want anyone not to get the vaccine. They want everyone included. And by saying that, oh, if you've been exposed to it, you don't need the vaccine, that automatically cuts into their bottom line, into their profits. Do you see how if this was about the truth, they would acknowledge that many people had already been exposed to it and say, oh, you don't have to take the vaccine. Well, apparently they're saying you do, even if you've already been exposed to it. We're not getting any data on who's already been exposed to it. And I'm talking about people that have already fallen ill and confirmed tested positive. They're not talking about those people as being people that don't have to take the vaccine. It's like they want everybody to take the vaccine. And that's just simply insincere. So what do they have to say about this? Well, we all know what they're doing. They're coming for the children. And it says the news comes on the heels of the FDA expanding emergency use authorization for CV19 VC as young as 12. VC was previously accessible only for 16 and up. So now the pressure's on. And as you saw with Ohio, they really want children to get it too, offering them full ride scholarship to the university. Now, we told you the day that they announced the 2-week lockdown and started giving out stimulus checks that we were all going to have to pay the piper later, sooner or later. And exploding inflation is now happening. It's actually been happening for about 6 months, but they wouldn't admit it. And now they're actually having to admit it because people are paying almost double for a lot of their food. This makes me so angry because had people known this before all this went down, maybe they wouldn't have accepted the checks. Maybe they wouldn't have stopped operating their businesses. Maybe they would have said, you know what? This isn't worth the cost. Let us as Americans decide. See, when you give people all the information and you say, look, we're going to shut down and, it's only 99.7% that are not getting sick. And maybe it's worth the cost. Maybe we should just stay open. Maybe even if that number went up to 98% survival rate or down to 95 even. Is it worth unending inflation, the crashing of the dollar, the loss of all the small businesses, and the rise of the corporatocracy? Is it worth it? These are the questions that we should be asking, and this is the information that should have been presented before the public in a very honest way before we ever shut down. But instead, now we're dealing with the consequences. Now, people like me and you already knew this was going to happen, but most people didn't believe us. Their egos got in the way. They said, who are you? You don't know anything. You're not an economist. And now here we are. These companies are jacking up prices because of exploding inflation. Well, all the companies are jacking up prices. Have you been to the grocery store lately? Now, everyone's trying to blame Bo Biden for it, but this had already started under the T-Man. Inflation things were already going up at a rapid rate. Even before Christmas, even in the summer, food prices were already starting to go up. They're both working together. This isn't just one president's fault. They're all in this together. The cost of doing business is on the rise as CV19 spamdemic rounds the corner. On Wednesday, the Labor Department reported the Consumer Price Index spiked 4.2% in April, the quickest jump in 12 years. Excluding volatile food and energy prices, the core CPI rose 3% year over year. It gained 0.9% alone for April. It's actually much, much higher than this in certain areas, as many of you know. Food is through the roof. And here we go with the shame. Merriam-Webster defines 79% of Americans as anti-VCers. Why? Because of the way they ask the question. A person who opposes VC or laws that mandate VCs is considered an anti-VCer, and nobody wants to be called that. Right? Those are just more of the shame game, more pinning people in the corner so that you are forced into doing what they want you to do. So there's the update. And if there are more updates, I'll make sure and get those to you guys in these pre-recorded shows. I'll see you all tomorrow on the live show. Take care and be safe, everybody.